Michael R Fletcher. Now sit back and prepare to be entertained.
Here we are. Welcome back to the Dripping Bucket, where we work actually really hard on this image of unprofessionalism. We curate it very purposefully.
We actually go back and edit things to make ourselves look a little less slick,
a little bit
so as not to
stupider.
upset people, and we come across as homey and personable instead of
really
like
intimidating. How
super controlling type A personalities we are.
Yeah, this is
so it's really nice to dumb it down.
Yeah, Adam is basically reading off a script we've given him.
Exactly.
He has no freedom. He's not allowed to venture off script at all.
Exactly. Yeah, it'll be the most controlled podcast you've ever been on, which will make other podcasts easier.
It even tells me when I'm supposed to laugh.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you for playing along, Adam. We appreciate it.
We will dock your pay for each one you miss.
Yeah, exactly.
It's really stressful. Wait, I'm getting paid?
Yeah, you know.
Depending on how well you do, it's a sliding scale of 0 to 0.
As long as it doesn't go negative.
Yeah.
And I have to start paying.
Oh, there we go.
So what the fuck are we talking about today? Why are we here? Why did this happen? I carved time from my busy schedule for this.
Yeah.
What are we talking about?
So the reason I thought about Adam, other than the fact that I like him and his hair is neat, is because we were friends before you were published. I was able to witness your little baby author wing Brad for the first time, and I was there to commiserate with you when you got emotionally destroyed by your first editing. And I think it's such a painful lesson for a lot of writers to learn, but it's one we all go through. It's a rite of passage. And so I was wondering if you're willing to just kind of talk about it and
share your pain.
Yes, exactly. We're gonna have a little therapy session, wherein I say really sympathetic things, and then Fletcher laughs at you and drinks your pain like an emotional vampire.
It's like good cop, bad cop, but good
exactly.
podcaster, bad podcaster.
Exactly.
Bad podcaster, worse podcaster.
Yep. For now, we're both sober, but who knows? So I'm curious, now that you're on the other side of it, how the expectation was, going into getting your first edit. How different was it from what you expected?
So I'll actually do a comparison of it for book 1 and book 2, because I just got edits back and went through them for book 2.
Perfect.
And I was able to use Taya for both editor. And for the first book, so I wrote it, gave it to Connor, and it was supposed to be a short story, and Connor's like, you need to spend more time on this. It's great. Yeah. Expand it. Because it was super rushed. So Sarah read it, and she's like, this is great. Connor read it, gave me a lot of exclamation points. And then I rewrote it into a novella. And then I'm super nervous, handing it off to beta readers. And I think I had 2. And one was Jackie, who was great and kind of kind of gave me some good comments and a little bit of confidence as I was a little worried. And then I'm all right, so I set something up with Taya, I handed it off, and it's an understatement to say that it was not the easiest of emails to send, being oh my god, this is gonna get torn apart, and just that little panic. And I'm but then I sent it, I'm I can't do anything now, so I'm off to distract myself with I think I was building my website at the time. So just did something completely different.
Yeah, busy
Yeah.
was very good for that moment after you send a big
actually,
edit.
no. I think I wrote The Night Revenant during that. It was after.
Oh.
It was something else I did. Yeah, I just distracted myself with a different story or something. I don't remember specifically, but I distracted myself with other things until I got the email back, and then I'm like, oh god. Yeah.
Oh god.
And I tried to like prepare myself, and I think the easiest way for me to have prepared myself was as a computer programmer. I looked at what Taya reported as bugs in my book, and it was my job as the writer to fix them. Whereas like in my day job, someone will be like, this doesn't work correctly, and I'm just not like, oh my god, I need to go like die now because I'm a horrible programmer. Like, I don't react that way. So I'm like, I just fix like when there's an issue. I'm like, so it's kind of like the same thing.
It is.
It didn't entirely work, but it helped. Where it's like, if she's just correcting like the phrasing and stuff, it's like, yeah, no, that's fine. I'm like, whatever, except, yeah, that's a comma that should be there.
Yeah.
That's a comma that shouldn't be there. Another comma. So those were easy. Because I'm like, yeah, I clearly don't know them.
And the difference between farther and further.
I can't believe I still messed that one up. I was so proud of myself for like knowing how to use that one, and then it's like, oh no, I don't. There was some other like ones where it's just like, why did I write that way? Like that word, that like I used the wrong word or something, and she caught it. I'm like, how did I not catch this before? But yeah, so it's like, it was there was definitely some parts where it's like, she would say something about an area, and I'm just like, I'm so stupid. Why is this so bad and stuff, or whatever. But then it's like, I just took care of the easy parts, where it's like, you're literally here to kind of like help with the grammar, obviously. So like, I'm not feeling hurt about that. I just am too lazy to learn it myself. And then like the more important parts, like I took time and I'm like, okay, so this is the issue. This is like what I would need to do, and kind of worked through that. But I think one of the things that happened to me during it was I felt like so much was changing. I actually had this tiny panic that it's like, it's not my story anymore, because it felt like so many of the parts were changing. And then I like read it at the end, and I'm just like, oh my god, this is my story, but it just sounds better. Like, it didn't feel like it wasn't mine. It's just, it felt like Taya helped improve it. And I think that clarity afterwards helped prepare me for book 2, where it's like, now I know what to expect. Like, I know that like, if I have a ton of red marks, it's not going to change like what I wrote. It's going to change how it was written.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I was so the second time around, and I had a lot less like straight up comments. I think there's like 3 things she commented on.
Like
that was just like some clarity, structural like clarity things. And I'm like, that's fair. I'm like, I should make that a little clearer. And then I also got a little note of, this is an excellent sequel from her, so that warmed my heart.
It's always nice when the editor that kicked your ass circles back to say, hey, yeah, good job. And you're like, yeah, thank you. I'm nice.
I had it in the email, so I went up on a high, and then was slowly knocked down a little bit.
Oh no!
And then ended up in like the same spot. And I'm like, okay.
Yeah, it's okay.
I'm like, it's good. It's better. It's good.
So when you say, like, just to backtrack a little bit, when you say that you needed to prepare yourself, what did you think was about to happen to you? And also, oh, go ahead.
I think like a worst case scenario was like going through my head of, she'd be like, why are you making me pay for this? Like, it's horrible. Like, or why are you paying for this? Like, you're not in this level yet. Like, it was just like, I think like from some level I'm like, yes, it's ready for edits and stuff, but like another level is like, what if it's not? What if it's like really bad? Because in part of her like contract, it's like, I pay, like, you pay this much per word unless like depending on like
That's
if you needed
abysmal.
like more stuff. Yeah, like if more work needs to be done, more might be charged, and I'm like,
Yeah.
she's gonna charge more, isn't she? So like just that phrasing, which is there, I'm like, I don't know. It was like triggered almost a panic, like I'm not ready for this, because I feel like I had I don't know, I didn't have enough people read it beforehand maybe or something, because I was still terrified to put my stuff out there. Where it's nice with the Wishing Stone, I had like 4 or 5 people read it before I sent it to edits, so I had like a good amount of people giving me feedback that's like, yeah, the overarching stuff is great, and like these issues, and I'm like, okay.
And then also, the Wishing Stone is something that you worked on after Gem Gem was done and out the door?
Yeah.
Or... Okay.
Quite a while, because I had that sequel panic where it's like, I don't know how I'm going to live up to book 1.
Yeah. So you entered the time-honored tradition of writing a whole other book to get away from
I just went back to Bounty Inc. and I'm like, no one cares if this is as good as Necromancer called Gam Gam. It's a different thing.
So then you got it back, and you didn't have to quit writing forever.
Yeah.
Did you find that once you understood the process better, did you find that you were able to transfer that over to editing yourself before you sent it away to other people? Like, were you able to notice your own crutch words and stuff like that?
What was really nice with Taya is like, as a debut author, she's offered, it might have been part of the initial conversations, I don't remember exactly how it went, but she's basically like, what kind of edit do you want? And one of the options was like the copy edit, but she can make comments about like what she sees to kind of help me get into better editing practices for myself.
Oh, wow.
So she's like, you're doing this a lot or something like that, or like, I saw this happen. And so she kind of made those comments, I think, more in the first one, which might have been a result of why there was more comments in the first one than the second one.
You literally
was like kind of like, yeah, you know. But yeah, so she kind of like helped point out a lot of things, and some I like picked out myself, or were common stuff that I've seen other people like post about, like things to look for, and kind of helped build out some tools for when I go through editing to be like, okay, I'm seeing this word get repeated like in the same area, and I'll catch that like a little better. And everything like that. Joe Byrne was really good at catching words if they were like the same in the same paragraph or whatever. He's the same word multiple times. He did the or beta read Wishing Stone, caught several of those. But yeah, so going through like what she was doing, I know like some people might just accept and then move on, but I was like actually copying over everything she did to kind of like, that's what I did like with programming. If I'm learning it too, I'll copy things down like by hand and write them out and whatever, so that I understand what the change was and like why it was done, and see how it changed things. Which might lengthen the process, but it definitely helps me learn.
Well, it shortens the process in the future, basically.
Yeah.
Because I do the same thing where it's like I get the Word document back, and then I have it open beside my master file, and I change everything in the master file so that the master file is accurate. And it's like you say, like it helps me to catch things that the editor does. Like you mentioned echoes, where it's the same word in a paragraph a couple of times. Or another one is kind of giving statements with "I saw this thing" instead of "this thing just happening."
Yep.
A lot of that needs to be cleaned up, especially when you're working first. But I think I did it in third person as well. Fletcher always wants me to murder M dashes.
Why? You just, when there's like dozens of them per page, it's a bit much.
Yeah.
I get super proud when I have like a semicolon
in the right place.
It doesn't get corrected. It's like, take up my semicolon.
I used that correctly. I'm a real pro now.
Yeah.
Yeah, so then, the act of engaging with those changes helps you solidify. Yeah. It makes sense, the analogy or the connection you make between the programming and the writing, because it is language. It's just to different
one's
purposes.
A computer.
Yeah, one. Yeah.
I think
one's talking to a computer and one's talking to a person.
Having a really honest and brutal editor really, really early on might be like a critical component to longevity as a writer, to improving. I think if no one sort of like eviscerates your first book, you kind of come out of it thinking, fuck yeah, I'm pretty good at this.
I know what
you're just wrong. You're just like, you just don't know. And it's only when somebody sort of like really tears the shit out of you and shows you all the ways in which you are just abysmally a no talent ass clown.
Specifically with the intention really of helping, though, because there's different kinds of shit tearing where like some people are just unnecessarily mean or
there's
trying
being
to
mean
write
about it, but there's just being like, you handled this really badly. This should have been like this. And like my first editor, who did an amazing job. Like I learned so much from her. She basically sent the book back and said, rewrite this in past tense.
Wow.
She's like, just
was like, that Beyond Redemption?
No, that was 88, which later became Ghost of Tomorrow. Got picked up by a small Canadian press.
Okay.
So they hired an editor, and she was like, yeah, cool story, but like this really needs to be done past tense. Like this like present tense thing is just tense? I did. Wow. And then she was like, all of your characters are guys, maybe try and search for some sort of balance there. I was like, so I like gender swapped half the characters, rewrote the entire thing in past tense. But like I learned so much over that several months of back and forth editing, about just the craft of storytelling and really just using the language. And then, getting to use that in your next book.
Yeah.
So gratifying. And, that was book 2 was Beyond Redemption.
Okay. And then that's
and I, cause I think I had half of that written when I got the edits back from 88.
Oh.
And I basically went, scrapped everything I had and started again. It was like, nope. I just did all the same old shit, made all the same mistakes.
Adam, you did a similar thing, didn't you? Like I remember you talking about you went back to Bounty Inc. and you could tell the moment where you would stop and put it away, and then you came back and started writing more clearly and more purposefully. Yeah. And so when you went through.
Yeah, so I wrote like the first like chunk of Bounty Inc. Then I went to Gam Gam.
Yeah.
And then I returned to Bounty Inc. for a bit or whatever. And yeah, there was like I was reading it and all of a sudden it's like I'm not rewriting literally the whole thing now anymore. I'm just taking and like modifying what's there. It's just like a level up in the writing. Just randomly halfway through the book.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, this was where Gam Gam got its edits back.
Yeah, it must have been really gratifying to kind of see like, oh, okay, yeah, this was worth it. This really helped me.
Yeah, I think one of the things too was when I handed the wishing stone off to Sarah.
Yeah.
And when she returned it or whatever, she's like, this sounds a lot closer to book 1 post Taya edits than like book 1 pre Taya edits. And I'm just like, oh, I'm like, I must have gotten better.
Yeah.
I'm like, that's a good sign.
Good on her. Like she's got an eye for being able to see the change in your voice. But also, yeah, it's really hard to mark progress in this business where, it's still hard. Why is it still hard for me? Clearly, I still suck at this. But then you go back over and you read what you've done, and it's like, oh, okay, actually, this is different. I've done something new. starting now.
Knowing how to fix it is just so much easier, you know. And I find what works really well is you do your first draft and it's whatever it is. And then you do like 7 or 8 editing passes. And then you reach out to your beta readers and you're like, okay, this is a first draft, so it might be a little rough. Yeah, but you've spent the last 6 months polishing it like a psycho.
Yeah. And then you're like, and then you bring back all the feedback and you're like, ah, shit. For me, the first couple of feedback rounds was always like, I needed a minute to like I really like the opportunity to be able to fix things, but I needed a minute because I thought I was further along than this. And this feedback is going to be so much work. And I thought I was closer to the end than this. And then, you know, you take like whatever, a couple of days or a week or however long to feel sorry for yourself. And then you just go do it. You just go do it. Yeah.
Yeah. I remember one of the greatest joys when you get your edits back is when you find like one page with nothing on it. No edits, no comments, nothing. And you're like, yes, I wrote one page. I wrote one good page.
I was actually going to comment on that at some point, and I kept forgetting to, but I was going through the Wishing Stone, and I hit that, and I was just like, I hit a high that day. Just scrolled all the way through an entire page. I'm like, no messed up commas, no bad wording, just a full good page.
Yeah, and that is how we measure our value in this business. One good page at a time.
All right, so we are hitting around the 20-minute mark. This seems like a lovely spot for us to wrap. Thank you once again for joining us, Adam.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me again.
Yeah, thank you. And
glad I could make the drive.
On a closing note, I'm gonna pitch this to you. God, you can make the drive. Busy. I got so busy phrasing my question that I missed what you said. Okay.
I just thought you thought it was stupid.
No, I missed it. Oh, now I forgot my question. Okay, well, my question on a parting note, if you could like give pre-edits Adam a piece of advice, and maybe even pre-publishing Adam, just the you that you were before Gam Gam was polished and finished, what would it be?
Oh, that's a tough question.
That's what you get for sneaking a joke past me like that.
I'd probably say the biggest thing is that each pass of like the story is meant to like improve it and stuff. Like whatever you write isn't going to be awful forever. And being able to like improve upon it, like that was one of the hardest things early on before I did Bounty Anchor Gam Gam. Was I would write, and I'm like, this is awful. Like, this is just horrible. Yeah. And I'd read like a Josiah Bancroft book, and I'm just like, I can't write. Like, it's brilliant. But it was just like wherever it's at now, it will get better, and like kind of just focusing. Each step is meant to do that. Yes, like edits might be painful to look at times and be like, I thought I was closer to being done than I was. I have to fix like all these parts. But it's all to make it kind of better, to make it worthwhile. And the end piece is always worth the struggle, usually worth the struggle, I guess. For me, it's been. I don't know if that's the case for everyone. But it's usually worth the effort of going through it.
Yeah, that's a good note, because I think that's a big light bulb moment for a lot of people where they realize, like, oh, this finished published novel that's so good probably also started as a shit first draft, and I'm okay. I'm on the right track. I can do it. I just need to edit. Yeah. Yeah, that's good advice. So hopefully some young writer can internalize that and learn to let their first drafts do shit.
Yeah.
And know
remember, when
gonna...
you're finished your novel, you're
Yeah.
not finished your novel.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
There's still work. Well, thank you
There's
very
also,
much.
I think there was the advice that there's more people who don't, or like there's less people, a lot less people between a finished first draft and a published book than there is between someone not finishing a book and finishing the first draft. So it's like once you hit finishing the first draft, you're already among like the people who are closer to like you're just at like a different level then. So
numbers.
just getting to the end of that first draft, and that was like one of the things that switched. I finished a first draft as bad as it was, lost a POV character because like they were useless. It was incoherent. I'm like, but I finished a first draft, and that I think was where my writing focus like completely changed for me. Where it's like I did it. I finished a first draft. Now I'm gonna start a new story and kick that one to the bucket.
Yeah.
Something completely new. But yeah, that was also like just finishing that first draft. Like everything clicks after that. Like I wasn't good necessarily, but I knew I could finish a first draft. I did it once. I can do it again.
Yeah, it's just like proving.
Yeah, killing that doubt
can.
is huge.
Yeah. Yeah. That. Yep. That's also. I finished a lot of stuff, but it was always shit. And I think the first time I finished a book that was going to be complicated for me was like, oh, okay, if I can fix this, I'll actually be able to write the kinds of books that I like reading instead of all the shit that I've read before. Yeah. Well, that's a good note to end on, I think. So, again, Adam, thank you very much for coming on to read the script that we provided to you.
Yeah, thanks for joining.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me.
Your payment of 1 cent will be in the mail sometime.
I can't wait.
Yeah.
And then it'll take a month and a half to get here.
Yeah, exactly.
Who said writing isn't profitable?
Exactly. You are 1 cent richer. There you go. Okay. Thanks very much. And we'll be back with some other poor schmuck with a bad script.